This is C is for Cat by Leslie Haynes. It's always been one of my favorite pieces, even though this is a simple leaflet postcard reproduction. I love the cicada with the newsprint wings, the cat head, the body of a man in a suit, and the very large C. C is for Cat by Leslie Haynes. So I'm trying to come to a decision on whether or not to do something. So it's a binary decision. The answer is either yes or no. So I'd like you to think about that. You should probably tell your friends to watch this video and see if they have any words to offer. It's a binary decision. The answer is yes or no. This is the End of History by Francis Fukuyama. Francis Fukuyama. Sorry, Francis. Slavoj Zizek talks about a lot about this book and the theory presented at the end of history. Since we are living in the last days of capitalism, perhaps, when all other forms of society have been effectively stamped out, here we are. Does this mean there will be no further change of historical systems? Francis Fukuyama says no. This is the end of history. Of course, he said this in the 90s, and I believe he's changed his mind. So I'm trying to come to a decision. It's a binary decision. The answer is yes or no. It's one of my favorite little philosophy reference books. It has visual reference guides. There's a lot of cool things in here. Periodically, I reread this, as a refresher. I was a philosophy and English language major as an undergraduate before I went back to get my MFA, and then I still tried to take that language meets philosophy, meets linguistics, meets philology, meets all sorts of other things. Here's a picture with an interesting quotation by Nietzsche. You should read it to yourself. I know. I'll hide behind the book for a minute. So we're on a tightrope between our animal self and our Superman self, man, right? On a tightrope over the void, over the abyss. Because, as Nietzsche said, just as an observation in terms of what is happening in society, remember he said this in the late 1800s, that God is dead, he will remain dead, and we have killed him. So what do you do with that, right? Since there is now just this abyss, this void, and there's the animal world, and there's the world of the Superman, where perhaps we can become something special, maybe even step out of that Fukuyama sort of into history phase. I'm not really sure. However, I do know that I have a decision to make. It's a binary decision. The answer is either yes or no. I'm willing to listen to your thoughts, meaning, is the answer yes or no? So feel free to respond however one responds to these sort of things when someone proposes a question and seeks your advice. I mentioned in another post that I recently picked this book up at Goodwill, hard copy, part of the Barnes & Noble Classic series, Kafka's The Metamorphosis and Other Stories. I've read A Hunger Artist, which I hadn't read before, and The Letter to the Emperor and some other things, which I find fascinating, and The Judgment. I read The Judgment the other night. And man, oh man, oh man, did I feel judged. Here is an image by Magritte, and it's called something like The Time of the Harvest or something. I love Magritte. It's one of his traditional themes, these men in these bowler hats, right? Fascinating. I'm going to, the plan today is to reread The Metamorphosis, where Gregor Samsa wakes up and he is turned into a giant bug vermin, and how the family reacts to that, etc. How he reacts to that. I thought it was quite relevant to my situation in time to reread The Metamorphosis. Perhaps you should too. You might hear some minor explosions going on outside. We're approaching the 4th of July, so we have a very enthusiastic family that lives somewhere. And occasionally, throughout the day, during the day, they shoot off these little booms, it's fascinating. But I have a decision to make. It's a binary decision. The answer is either yes or no. Trying to figure that out. So you can participate. I am interested in seeing what you think. Is it yes or is it no? I'm not always sure. Teaching the postmodern. It's what I've always done, really. It's what I'm doing right now. I'm not sure if I've shared this or not, but I have a decision to make. It's a binary decision. The answer is either yes or no. I've had this as part of my life for a long, long time. The world of MC Escher. We all love his images, I believe. I love his images. They're just fascinating. Fascinating things to think about. A different way to look at the world, right? Fukuyama says, that we've traveled through all these stages in history, and here we are experiencing late capitalism, and it is therefore the end of history. although I think he has recently changed his mind. But MC Escher, has been looking at the world differently for quite a long time. There are different ways of looking at the world, and sometimes you just feel like you're unraveling. I think that Kafka and Escher and probably a number of other people have a similar perspective on things, even though they might describe it differently. I'm just trying to find an interesting image to kind of close with. There's the going up and down the stairs thing. Up and down, round and round. That's what Kafka speaks of quite a bit. Thank you for watching. Oh, I should take a drink of coffee. I have a decision to make. It's a binary choice. The answer is either yes or the answer is no.